Hello students, welcome to Legacy As Academy. In this particular video, we are going to discuss about a very interesting article that has been published by Yogendra Yadav in the Indian Express. Now, in this particular article, he has given the heading, "The Nationalism We Forgot." That means he is trying to compare the kind of nationalism that India is seeing today versus the nationalism we had inherited as a result of our years-long freedom struggle. So, he has made a kind of comparison between the India just after independence and India that we have today, and the nationalism, the value that used to exude and it used to evoke in people versus the kind of values it evoke in the mind of people today. Now, what he is largely claiming that today, if you look at the nationalism prevailing and pervading the sense of India, it has been on continuous backsliding. His statement has come against the backdrop of Operation Sindoor that was launched by Indian military and armed forces against the retaliation of a Pahalgam terror attack that was conducted by the terrorists, who largely seems to be trained and backed by the Pakistani state, ISI and military as such. As a result of this, Indian government launched a counter-offensive campaign where many of the military sites of Pakistan were targeted, and that has resulted into kind of what you can call as 4 or 5 days war breaking between two neighbors, that is India and Pakistan. In this context, he has made the sense that because and after the aftermath of Operation Sindoor, many people began to question the government and the way how it was handling the affair. Many people began to question the role of government in such, and thus he is saying that our nationalism has become overly imitative in nature. Imitative in the sense is saying that today India's nationalism is not peculiar or unique that used to be after independence. It has become more like the nationalism that we saw during the time of Germany, or in the Germany, the kind of nationalism that we have seen, a kind of copycat nationalism that you see similar kind of nationalism in the case of Israel as well. So that is how he is trying to make a comparison as such. Now let us try to understand what basically he is trying to say. So he has given example of Ali Khan Mahmudabad case. Now in this particular case, the particular person who is teaching in Asoka University has made some controversial remark about the government decision to put Colonel Sophia Qureshi, as we can say, the face of Operation Sindoor, and this basically has led to his arrest, and again Supreme Court has basically given him what you can call as a bail in this particular regard. So what Yogendra Yadav claims is that the exchange that preceded the order was more shocking in nature. The notions of rule of law, of constitutionally protected rights, or the very idea of freedom of expression were conspicuously absent. That means he is saying that in this entire case, the only thing that was taken into account was a person's duty toward the nation, duty and the person's right to what you can call as to have his own idea, to have his own liberty to question government that falls under the constitutionally protected right of freedom of expression. That is something that was not even discussed as such. Now he is also saying that today we are making a forced choice, that either you can defend nationalism, either you can be nationalistic in your attitude, or you can defend citizens' freedom. In modern India, he is making a claim that both seems to not coexist together, and he is saying that this is the biggest worry that the nation faces today. He also has given the example of Jayaprakash Narayan, who is considered as the hero of 1942 resistance, that is the Quit India movement, and then JP Andolan, that was during the time of Indira Gandhi. He has made a claim that he saw no conflict between his nationalism and his duty to speak the truth on the Kashmir or Nagaland, or to declare his friendship with the people of China in the aftermath of 1962, and is saying that such kind of behavior or such kind of what we can call as statement is something that we cannot see or understand in the modern India. So in one way, he's saying that today nationalism also is being pitted against the entire idea of democracy. Now try to understand what he's saying, that when we talk about democracy, it means the accountability. Now the government is accountable to the people. Basically, we try to understand government is accountable to the what you can call as Lok Sabha, and Lok Sabha is accountable to public as such. So overall, government is having a certain degree of accountability to the citizens of India. This is the ethos of democracy. And since the government of India is accountable to the public and the citizens of India, citizens have every right to question the decisions of government, to question the failures of government, and question the what you can call as the functioning government as such. So the author here claims that today it seems that it is not possible, because nationalism and democracy both seems to be pitted against each other, and it seems that both cannot exist together as such. Not only that, he also is making a claim that today government has become a synonym for the nation as such. That means it seems that there is no distinction between nation and government. Now, what does basically it mean? It basically means that what he's saying is that if you are questioning the government, if you are criticizing the government, and if you are questioning any kind of decision that government has taken to ensure national security or national interest, it seems that you are questioning the nation itself. But he is trying to differentiate that nationalism and what we can call as the democracy. Basically, these are two different aspects. For example, you can very well question the government and you can very well question the failure of the government. It does not make you anti-national as such. But this seems not true, not logical in present India, because government has become synonym for the nation. That means nation is government and government is nation as such. This is the kind of claim that he has made as such. And he also has taken examples from the past. For example, he is saying that if you look at the Atal Bihari Vajpayee, our former prime minister, he has demanded accountability for the 1962 debacle. We know that in 1962, due to failures of Congress government, India has to face defeat along the front when the China waged a war against India, and he has demanded accountability for the government, and thus he ensured a special session of parliament be held, and Congress was held accountable as such. Similarly, he has given an example of Ram Manohar Lohia, and he also was considered as the bitter critic of Jawaharlal Nehru's China policy, Jawaharlal Nehru's foreign policy as such. So both of these were tall leaders of not only of their time, but also if talk about the entire this post freedom of India or post independent India as such. So no one called them anti-national as such, but in today's India, we cannot expect such things to take place as such. Now, what he is saying, that nation seems to be turning against its own people, and the modern day nationalism, present day nationalism, seems to hell bent on creating an internal enemy within India itself. So anyone who is questioning the government, anyone who is questioning the failures of government, anyone who questions seems to be an internal enemy, and this has led to a kind of big divide and difference on the ideological basis, on the cultural basis, or on the regional basis. Now we know that India is considered as a land of unity in diversity, but it seems today that we are focused more on this differentiating people on the basis of diversity rather than uniting them under a common flag or common umbrella as such. And anyone whose ideology does not match with the majoritarian ideology, the prevailing ideology, is simply branded as anti-national. So this is the what you can call as the downward spiral of the nationalism that the author has talked about here. Now he is trying to make a comparison with the nationalism that we inherited. That means talking about the nationalism that was the what you can say the way of living in India just after independence. So Indian nationalism was about belonging without othering. And this is a very important term, because what it means that Indian nationalism was focused on creating such a deep sense of national belonging without inventing external or internal enemies as such. That means our nationalism was more about celebrating diversity rather than forcing everyone to follow a certain path or guided by a certain idea as such. Its adversary was colonialism, which was a system, not a country, not a race. That means the only what you can call as the enemy of Indian nationalism, which was sending us and giving us a message of unity and diversity, was colonialism. And as we understand, colonialism was largely based on the concept of rule and divide. And the rule and divide was the basis due to which the British were able to rule over India for so many years, even though they were very few in numbers, and there were very few in numbers British government, to talk about British government officials who were present in India as such. So they began to pit people against each other. Many Indian kings began to fight with each other, and they were largely taken advantage of with the British as such. So this is something that is why he is calling colonialism as the biggest adversary of Indian nationalism. It respected the multiplicity of languages, regions, and religions, and sought to weave a complementary Indian identity. This was the basis of early Indian nationalism, and he has given an example that, for example, in the early days, you have seen many examples where majority are talking about and trying to defend the rights of minority, where people from different language who are well versed in different languages are trying to defend the rights of some other languages such. So that is the example that he has talked about. Now, also he has made a distinction between the Indian nationalism versus the European idea of nationalism. On the one hand, he has talked about Europe, where European nation-state model was based on uniformity. Uniformity means where people belong to same culture, same nation, same basically we can say language group are classified as a separate country. Even you talk about European Union today, it is made up of so many countries, but each of these individual countries are kind of uniform in themselves. Versus if you talk about India's model was based on such kind of state nation that reconciled democracy with deep differences. For example, if you look at India, we can see there are so many cultures coexisting together. We can see there are so many languages. Actually, India is the second most language diverse country in the entire world existing together. We see so many religions existing together, and this is something that is very opposed to the idea of nationalism and nation state that we see in the case of Europe. It is because of this inherent, what you can call as characteristic of Indian democracy or Indian nationalism, Winston Churchill has said that India cannot function as a country for a long period of time. It will get divided, break apart, and will become what you can call as something like Balkan region. But that has been proven to be incorrect, because Indian nationalism, it has celebrated diversity. It did not pit people against each other on the basis of diversity, and that is why people were very easily able to accommodate their belief system under the overall idea of Indian nationalism as such. So this Indian nationalism is under assault today. This is what author is claiming, and this backsliding of Indian nationalism, that is Vivid Bharati. Vivid Bharati means diverse India, is being replaced today by Hindustan nationalism, and that he says is the deepest tragedy of our time as such. He also is saying that India's expansive and positive nationalism has been captured by a narrow creed of bigotry and jingoism, and it is shorn of emotional, cultural, and spiritual content that it used to enjoy in the early days of freedom movement, or even just after independence and such. And that is how it was able to retain the deep connection with the people. But this connection seems to be being lost today, and owning up and reclaiming the legacy of Indian nationalism is the most pressing political and intellectual challenge of our times. So this is what largely the masses of the article is all about. If you like the video, please hit the like button, share it with fellow aspirants, as well as subscribe to our channel for more such content. Thank you.